Hi, I'm Corey Joe Humphries and welcome to Commander class. In today's class we'll be talking about sack lands. The reason they're called sack lands is that you're able to sacrifice them to either get more mana or a mana of any colour. When it comes to this class I will be going over in three different sections. There is the original sack lands, the tricolour sack lands, and then the all colour sack lands. There's 5 or 6 in between them and I'll be going over them in order of original, 3-colour, and then all colour. The reason they're all separated like this is that they all do tap and sacrifice themselves to do something, but they all do something different. And there's 6, 5, and then 6, and then they all have different abilities, so that's why they're separated in these 3 groups. So the first one I'm going over is the original ones. There's 6 of them in total. There's 1 of each colour and then colourless. They all enter the battlefield tapped except for the colourless one. They all tap for the one colour that they provide, so white types for white, blue, and stuff like that. They all have a second ability that you can tap and sack it and add 2 mana of that colour. And then here's all 6 of them on screen now. Ruins of Tarkir, it's a land that's an uncommon. Rules of Tarkir comes into play tapped, tap, add a white 2 mana pool, tap, sacrifice Rules of Tarkir, add 2 white 2 mana pool. Savenlunt Tomb, it's a land that's a common. Savenlunt Tomb comes into play tapped, tap, add a blue 2 mana pool, tap, sacrifice Savenlunt Tomb, add 2 blue 2 mana pool. Eben Stronghold, it's a land that's an uncommon. Eben Stronghold comes into play tapped, tap, add a black 2 mana pool, tap, sacrifice Eben Stronghold, add 2 black 2 mana pool. Dwarven Ruins, it's a land that's an uncommon. Dwarven Ruins comes into play tapped, tap, add a red 2 mana pool, tap, sacrifice Dwarven Ruins, add 2 red 2 mana pool. Haven Wood Battlegrounds is a land that's an uncommon. Haven Wood Battlegrounds is a battlefield tapped, tap, add a green 2 mana pool, tap, sacrifice Haven Wood Battleground, add 2 green 2 mana pool. Crystal Vein, it's a land that's an uncommon, tap, add a waste to your mana pool, or tap, sacrifice Crystal Vein, add 2 colourless to your mana pool. The second ones I'll be going over are the tricolour lands. There's 5 of them in total, 1 of each colour. And this is where things get a bit more complicated, because when you tap and sack them, they add 2 mana of a 2 different colour of the kind of allied version of what they produce. So it's really hard to explain if you don't know kind of like the graph of how the colours really work. So it's just kind of easier to show you what the lands do. So I'll be going over all 5 of them now. Irrigatial Ditch, it's a land that's a common. Irrigatial Ditch comes into play tapped, tap, add a white 2 mana pool, tap, sack Irrigatial Ditch, add a green and blue 2 mana pool. Ancient Spring, it's a land that's a common. Ancient Spring comes into play tapped, tap, add a blue 2 mana pool, tap, sacrifice Ancient Spring, add a white and black 2 mana pool. Sulphur Vent, it's a land that's a common. Sulphur Vent comes into play tapped, tap, add a black 2 mana pool, tap, sack Sulphur Vent, add a red and green 2 mana pool. Geothermal Crevice, it's a land that's a common. Geothermal Crevice comes into play tapped, tap, add a red 2 mana pool, tap, sack Geothermal Crevice, add a green and black 2 mana pool. Timber Farm, it's a land that's a common. Timber Farm enters the battlefield tapped, tap, add a green 2 mana pool. Tap, sacrifice Timber Farm, add a red and white 2 mana pool. And then the last ones are the old ones, and they're kind of the same as the first ones. They are 6 of them in total. They all enter the battlefield tapped except for the colourless ones. They all tap for 1 of each colour and then the colourless. But then they have an ability that when you tap and sack it, you get 1 mana of any colour. And here are all 5 on screen now. Abandoned Outpost, it's a land that's a common. Abandoned Outpost comes into play tapped, tap, add a white to your mana pool, tap, sack Abandoned Outpost, add 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool. Seafloor Debris, it's a land that's a common. Seafloor Debris comes into play tapped, tap, add blue to your mana pool, tap, sacrifice Seafloor Debris, add 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool. Bog Wreckage, it's a land that's a common. Bog Wreckage enters the battlefield tapped, tap, add black to your mana pool, tap, sack Bog Wreckage, add 1 mana to your mana pool of any colour. Ravage Highlands, it's a land that's a common. Ravage Highlands comes into play tapped, tap, add a red to your mana pool, tap, sack Ravage Highlands, add 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool. Timberland Ruins, it's a land that's a common. Timberland Ruins comes into play tapped, tap, add a green to your mana pool. Tap, sacrifice Timberland Ruins, add 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool. Archaeologist Dig, to land that's an uncommon. Tap, add 1 colourless mana to your mana pool. Tap and sack Archaeologist Dig, add 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool. Now that we've gone over the sack lands, next week's class is man lands, and there's actually going to be a fair few of them. I'm actually kind of excited for this class, so please, next Friday, if you're interested, go give that video a watch. But as always, remember to like and follow and subscribe and all of that, and let me know which sack land is your favourite. And if you liked this week's class, I have last week's class here. I also have a playlist of every single Commander class I've done right here, and then also a pretty subscribe button that you should go and hit. And I will see you all in the next video.